tonight. It's been a hell of a week. I don't know if I've talked about this in a live stream yet, but we're moving to a new property in the jungle, and we're pretty excited about that because it's a much larger property, 15 hectares, Pitahaya farm, right on the Napo River. So it's good. And what I'm planning to do, yeah, double rainbow. It was a lot crazier in person, and it was just enough rain, I think, to. But that's where we're living now. That's like the front porch in the thumbnail, with the double rainbow. Funny, just in the last like week or so, I started to see wildlife right around the house. An armadillo the other day, which is they're much larger here than they are in like Texas. I think it's probably an entirely different. I almost called it a strain. This is what happens when you've been growing pot for entirely too long. So yeah, an armadillo and a toucan. The other day landed in the tree by the house. So at any rate, we're moving to this property, and we have 2 rooms that we have permission to sublet. So a bunch of you guys have talked about coming to visit. That's an option now. My health does seem to be improving a bit. In fact, in the next couple of days, watch out for, I'm going to release the video as a premiere attached to a live stream. And the video will be this tea that I've been making and all of the constituent plants from the jungle that go into the tea. So there's the Raba de Mono, Chuchawasa, Saragosa, and interestingly, I haven't really been able to find much about these plants online. I don't know what their Latin names are still. They don't seem to be very well known. Some of them have been studied pretty extensively, like Uña de Gato, and it's, basically every claim that the indigenous people make about the efficacy of these plants for various medicines has proven true in the laboratory. And that's no surprise. And of course, a lot of these plants are also admixture plants, so people will either dieta with the plant leading up to the ceremony, or integrated around the ceremony, or even brewing the plants with the ayahuasca for different purposes. In particular, the Uña de Gato here is supposed to attack energy blocks and remove them so that you don't have to deal with them anymore. Strain of armadillo, yeah. So I'm going to make a video where I'm going to show you guys how to make the tea, although I realize that for the time being, accessibility of these plants may be somewhat limited where you're living. But still, it's super cool. I mean, they're really weird, especially the Mono de Rabo. It's tail of a monkey, and it actually does look like a monkey tail. So then I'm going to do a live stream about living with chronic illness and how to deal with people that have chronic illness, especially things like Lyme disease and chronic fatigue syndrome, because people, especially when it comes to syndromes like chronic fatigue, friends and family often make huge mistakes that really can create a lot of animosity and also just kind of damaging. In my case, having chronic fatigue syndrome, it's not always really obvious, and so when you have been suffering for decades and people minimize it or make light of it or even disbelieve it, it can make you murderously angry, and so we'll talk about that in the live stream after the tea video. Okay, so and then let's talk about I guess what happened with the crypto situation recently. Man, it has just gotten so bad. The scammers are so sophisticated. And again, I'm mostly sharing this with you guys just so that you're on guard, because I was already on guard. I've been scammed before. I know what to look for. There's a protocol. It's just like buying cryptocurrency is like trying to ID a wild mushroom that you're not familiar with. Like you have a list of checkpoints that you have to go through before doing anything. And so we had been locked out of one of our wallets for a while, and it's really inconvenient situation. And so I found a little bit of BNB that was just like rolling around loose in some shit coin somewhere. And I don't know why I did this, but on a whim, I put it in like this like super shitty shit coin. Well, it's not totally a whim, actually. I'll give you guys not financial advice, but a tip. Not only is it true that a lot of the shit coins that really explode are just totally based on hype, there are trends, and people are very much, you know, groupthink, monkey see, monkey do, apes. They're apes. We're great apes, you know. And so Dogecoin was huge, and this is something that has happened with these porn coins. You know, first it was cum rocket, and then it was porn rocket, and then someone made like a baby doll token, and so it's just like there's a succession of copycats that will also moon pretty reliably. And so in this case, it was a Doge knockoff, and I think we only had like $70 or something, and we put it in there, and almost immediately it started going up and up and up and up and up and up and up. And so the first day I went to, and you know, I mean, we're kind of broke. I mean, some things have started happening. My partner's getting some modeling gigs. One of my videos went viral. I don't know if we're gonna get any money from it or not. I've licensed it. There's definitely stuff that is kind of looking up, but we really needed this to be a miracle, and it started to turn into a miracle. And so this very small amount of money, I woke up the next day and my partner tells me, oh, you know, it's $1,600 now or something. And I was like, what, you know? And so of course I'm thinking, well, we should probably get it out and just call it good, you know? And I was like, no, let's go ahead and just see what happens. The next day I wake up, it's 2,700, and I'm like, no way, this can't be happening. And usually what's been happening with these coins like this is that they'll pump and then they'll just drop almost immediately. They'll just pump for, you know, a couple of hours, and if you don't get them out at the top, then you get wrecked. You know, they just decline and crash. And so it did start to crash, and I got a little panicky. And I don't even know how this happened, but the scammer made a Telegram group that was exactly identical to the real Telegram group, even to the extent that it had the same number of people in it somehow. I don't know if they were all bots that had been like programmed to, I don't know how they did this, but it actually had the 32,000 people or whatever. The conversations all looked organic, and there was a real airdrop going on with the real company. So somehow when I got back on the Telegram, you know, if you use Telegram, you know how the messages will like, they jump all around, you know. It's like whoever says the last thing goes to the top, or the most recent post, that most recent thing goes to the top. And if it's a crypto group with 40,000 people, you know, it's just constantly moving. So that may have been a factor or something. And I clicked on the fake one and I didn't notice. And there was, and I did it because I knew this airdrop was about to happen. And so they paused the chat and they're like, okay, it's time for the airdrop, which they said they were doing because the coin was crashing, and it made sense to me. I thought they were trying to rally people. And so I click on the airdrop, and it goes to the website. And I'm thinking, like, I need to make sure that this, I was suspicious, you know, I was like, something's weird, but I scrolled around the website and looked at the address, which did actually turn out to have like a comma or something added, but everything was nearly identical, down to the web address. And so I had checked everything totally thoroughly. I had double checked it. I checked the number of people in the Telegram. I checked the name of the Telegram. I checked the website, and then I went ahead and scanned the thing, and $1,800 gone in an instant. And so, what's up, man? And thank you for the support, by the way. I'm pretty sure that's you. I don't know what your real name is, but thank you for having our backs, especially when shit like this happens, man. And I mean, the reality is that we didn't lose what we originally put in, which was super ironic. Um, but that was obviously, just super devastating for us to have this miracle. We could have paid off all of our debts, um, and still had a little bit to invest. July is supposed to be, the peak of the bull run. And so I was like, man, this is not a good time to not have money because the market's still low. And by the middle of July, so I was thinking we have now this miraculous thing has happened, and um, super sophisticated scammers. And here's the crazy thing, they're still there. I got blocked from the real group for calling it a shitcoin, which it is a shitcoin. I mean, it's usually not offensive to call a shitcoin a shitcoin. Most of these platforms will call their shitcoin shitcoins. So I didn't see that coming, so I couldn't even warn everyone. Just for the market in general. I mean, that's what people have been saying, Flezzik. Who knows if it's true? Obviously, a lot of the predictions that people have made have not been correct. It's kind of like a weatherman in the 1980s. I mean, they're accurate a lot of times, but they're not accurate. Okay, so I said I was going to give you guys a little bit of advice, and I will, because, and this is all stuff that I've learned the hard way. It's not like this is coming from a place of like momentous success or something, but, you definitely have to be on guard more than ever. Like, identifying the website as being legitimate takes more than just a glance. You have to make sure that you know what exactly the address is supposed to be, because they can just copy the what is it called, the source code, I guess, and then they have an identical website, but they can manipulate it. And that's what they did in this case. Everything was exactly the same as the authentic website, except that they had this trap built in. So there was really no way I could know, but it's a really terrible experience. I mean, it kind of feels like being raped or something. And I mean, we're people that are really working for the collective well-being. So it's just like, if I could find the scammer and shoot them in the face, I wouldn't think twice. Not maliciously, but I really just don't feel like people like that have any business existing. And I would just love, like, that's all. I just laid in bed last night just thinking about how good it would be to just shoot them right in the fucking face. It's just such a terrible thing to do to people. No, it is kind of like being raped. I mean, when, people take something from you, from your family like that, without your permission, I guess I'm a white male, so I'm not supposed to have an opinion about anything. But I don't think it's unfair to say that it's that kind of violation. I'm not saying it's that personal, but it's the same sort of idea of being like severely violated and damaged. I mean, my partner, she really had her hopes set on that money, and it was like this ray of almost like divine, miraculous. I mean, that's what it was, but I guess some Indian guy somewhere had I should have given it away. I guess there was just a lot of bad English when I went back and reviewed the I just looked at the conversations. But honestly, all of the chat rooms are like that. Not English is a second language for a lot of people that speak it. Yeah, it was terrible, man. And honestly, I'm. It's not like I'm looking for pity. Really, we're fine. I mean, we're in the same boat we were in before this happened. But I just wanted to warn you guys that, I stepped out of the scene. I quit paying attention to crypto for a few months. Just burned out and disappointed. It was bad timing for us. I mean, we really started to get in right about the time that the dip happened. We waited on tokens to flip that took way longer than people predicted. And so we ended up having to live off of our investment capital, and I just didn't want to think about it, and we just discovered this like scrap laying around and created this miracle. that was promptly stolen from us. So, you know, I just wanted to warn you guys that even if the website looks correct, I mean, like if you navigate away from the website and go back, you better check and make sure that the address is the same. And, you know, and if you're getting into this stuff, you have to listen to what people tell you. Don't chase green candles. You have to, the only time that it is ever safe to buy, and it's still not safe, but the only time that it's reasonably safe to buy any shitcoin is when it is at bottom. Like it needs to be like 6-figure low, or, you know, depending on there's sort of an equation, you know, I mean, you can look at their socials and kind of get an idea for how big their community is, and kind of decide what a low market cap is. But don't chase green candles. Don't buy into something high on the off chance that it's going to go even higher. And you just definitely have to watch it, because, you know, having the logo correct, having the source code copied website, I mean, it's just so hard to tell the scams anymore. So you just really have to be incredible. I mean, I was careful. I checked everything 3 times and it was still a scam. You know. I mean, I feel a little better because, you know, I was talking to some of the developers, they got scammed too. I mean, everyone is, it's so bad out there, because the nature of it causes a sort of feeding frenzy kind of attitude. And there's this, you know, if you don't act with concision and you don't do everything really quickly, you can miss peaks. You can find yourself on the red side of a dump, and then your slippage is 30 or 40% and you can't sell out. So, you know, it's everyone's in this kind of like panicked, frenzied, lunatic kind of state of mind, and it just really makes for a volatile situation, right? So yeah, that was rough, man, because we thought like we were like, this is the last piece of the puzzle, you know, we're moving to a nicer property, away from town and into the jungle, and income seems to be picking up a little bit, and then here's this miracle, you know, and it's just, I'm shaking it off, but slowly. Hopefully I won't be fantasizing about murdering the scammer all night tonight, because that's not fun either. But Fernando, are you here tonight? Just out of curiosity. I have been intending to play, and I'm still sick. I'm getting better, but I'm still too sick, my throat. So I put it off another couple days, but Fernando had requested the song, and he's been a big help, so I'm just gonna play it if he's watching. Otherwise, though, you know, one of my plans, like I have a twofold approach to trying to get my health and my mind back together, because one of the consequences of having chronic illness and being sick for a very long time is that my mind has been worn down. I mean, it wears you down on a lot of levels, you know. I just realized the other day how badly broken I was in terms of, like, you know, the positive aspects of ego. All of the things that I used to pride myself on being very good at, I haven't been able to do really much at all. And I don't think I really realized the impact that it had on me. You know, I shouldn't lose my edge to the degree that I have until I was like 80 or something. You know, that's kind of a fair comparison. It's like I got really old really fast, and I think, you know, part of the reason maybe you guys can't always tell out there in internet land is that I've been dealing with it for so long that I'm often able to mask it really well, because I'm used to having to, you know, I've been sick since 2000, I think, to varying degrees, and I never had health insurance or disability. Like, it never would have occurred to me to like try to go get disability or something. So I've always just had to just keep going. You just keep going, and it really wasn't until like this year, I guess, that it was just finally so bad, or maybe something new has developed, I guess. So there's like layers, and I haven't really felt, immobilized until this last year, And I'm going to talk about it in a day or so. I think tomorrow I'm going to try to do the live stream and really talk about what it's like to be sick for 20 years and how psychedelics can help. Um, and that's something I'm not really proud of. I think psychedelic medicine, ayahuasca, probably could have helped me a lot more. I could be a lot better than I am, and because I feel so physically bad, I just don't want to do it, and that's not an acceptable excuse. But that's another reason why I'm so excited to go to this new property. It's lots of open space. It's not very comfortable here where we're living. I mean, it's a nice house. It's fine. I'm definitely not complaining, but it's kind of like there's like these big concrete walls around it. Everything's very square. There are neighbors nearby. It's just not really the kind of place where I feel like I could build a fire and drink a bunch of ayahuasca and scream bloody murder if I had to and chant. Like sometimes when I'm doing the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram upstairs, the dogs will all start barking in the neighborhood and stuff. And I know that, people are very Catholic. It's really weird when an indigenous person is like weird because you're not Christian. Like that shit bothers me for some reason. I mean, for them, that this belief system was imposed on them, and to the extent that they're not even comfortable being around people that haven't embraced this cultural decimator. So, yeah, looking forward to drinking a lot of medicine out there. I'm gonna go really deep. Of course, I'll continue to document everything, and it'll give me a lot more, stories to share with you guys. And so I have the combination of a very strict diet and basically, yeah, colonizer. What's up, colonizer? Have you seen this? These native guys on TikTok that are like, "Hey, colonizer," and some of them are cool, but there's one with a really pointy face that is kind of too hateful, and he's really popular. But he said caucasity in the last video that he made, and I thought that was awesome because that is a real thing for sure. It's like audacity, but it's caucasity, and I was pretty pleased with this gentleman for adding that term to my vocabulary, because we all deal with caucasity, white, black, brown, whatever. Everybody's had some caucasity thrown in their face at some point. Shit, man, what else did we say we were going to talk about? I felt like there was, like, once we got through the scammers and, illness and everything, I thought we would maybe dive into something a little bit more cheery. Oh, yeah, well, this is going to be good too. Two things I'm working on. I don't know if you guys saw the Timothy Leary video I made recently. Just basically quotes set to some trippy visuals and some music. I'm gonna make a longer one for him because I didn't even realize it was so much work that I thought it was like long, and I never checked. So when I was done, I realized it was only like 3 minutes long. So I found a bunch of video of him that was just, I missed it when I was put. Anyways, so but Aleister Crowley is the next one, and I think that he's one of the most misunderstood people ever, probably, and people hate to hear this, but he has had an influence on your life more than you. If you don't know him and his, I don't even want to call him teachings, but his if you don't know his thing, and you don't know the influence that he had on the people that have influenced you. I mean, and this is the interesting thing, according to Crowley's definition of magic, it's the science and art of causing conformity to occur causing conformity. It's the opposite of that. My bad. Causing change to occur in conformity with will. And so he would point out that if you doubt that change can be caused to occur in conformity with your will just through means of will power alone, you obviously have never moved your hand or sat up or taken a breath or and so um, and so oh, his message and whatnot. Basically, a magician is a person that is their real purpose is to elevate consciousness of the entire race of humanity. Um, and the fundamental means through which they affect that change is by working on their own consciousness. And one of the things, I did a secret stream on my Patreon channel, which you guys should definitely go sign up for. That last secret stream I was really happy with. I basically went through the Book of the Law, which Crowley claimed to have channeled, but he also said that he wasn't totally convinced that it didn't come from his subconscious mind, to his credit. And I think that's really important, that we don't, attribute absolute objective reality to these kind of things, because there's no way that you can know for sure. And people get themselves into too much trouble. So he did remain, open to either possibility that it legitimately came from a being of some kind or just from some part of his own mind. And so the magician, by changing his own consciousness, what I was saying is that I was going through the Book of the Law and his commentary, and I noticed a couple of statements that he made that were not known to science yet. In one passage, he what is it called when you he anticipates Einstein's theory of relativity, but very succinctly, not in a indirect kind of way that could be interpreted as a description of relativity. It was precisely the idea of space and time being fundamentally connected, and it was actually, it got a little bit technical. And in 1910, which was pretty mind-blowing. And then he also was talking about how the molecules in every star are connected to those in every other star, which is, of course, a description of entrainment. So it's really interesting that through techniques of consciousness and altered states of consciousness specifically, that he was able to ascertain qualities of the universe that were confirmed absolutely by science 50 years later, 100 years later. And that's another thing that's always appealed to me about Crowley, is his sort of scientific, or at least an integration of science and skepticism into his spiritual practice. I think that, spirituality is very valuable, and it is, as I'm always saying, the antidote to the atom bomb. But just like anything else, it has the potential to really fuck people up. And I think that it's probably at least as often the case, because in our culture, we don't really have traditions. We don't have shaman. We kind of are starting to again, but what happens is that any lunatic that decides that they believe their thoughts are spiritual teachings can go on the internet, or they can write books, and then New Agers and people that are, are maybe new to thinking beyond just the material are a little bit too eager to believe everything that they read, and this sort of thing of becoming so open-minded that wind is whistling through your ears is sort of like standard practice for the spiritual community at large, I guess. And it has negative consequences on not only the people that behave in this way, but also on the people that are trapped in the matrix mind. They're turned off by the perceived idiocy of the spiritual people that are believing all kinds of obvious nonsense and just generally being ridiculous. And so they maintain their matrix minds, and that's not healthy either. So I really think that the fact that Aleister Crowley is one of the very, very few that has that sort of approach of a skeptical, scientific, critically thinking approach to metaphysics and spirituality, that he's also demonized. There aren't really a lot of other influences that present these things with that kind of presence of mind. And I think that it's also symptomatic of our lack of respect for spirituality. For example, the practice of channeling with New Age housewives and whatnot. In the mystery schools, channeling was sometimes practiced or something like it, but you receive training and for example, the capacity to distinguish your own thoughts from some other intelligence is something that would be developed as a skill through, it's like anything else. You don't become a physicist just because one day you decide that you're a physicist. And that's what a lot of people do with spirituality, because there's no one to stop them. There's no one setting a precedent. And I think that a lot of the people that embrace these things don't actually believe that there is any substance to them. They don't really believe in it. And I think that's also why skepticism and critical thinking is abandoned so often in spiritual practices. People are afraid that they want to believe and have some kind of spirituality. They're not totally convinced, probably partly because a lot of what they're believing is nonsense, and that people sense that, like people talk about resonating with things. I think that when things are not really true, there's some sense of that is felt. And so they're afraid that if they think critically and hey Fernando, what's up, man? So there's a tendency to be afraid to scrutinize our metaphysics and our spiritual ontology, and because we're afraid we're going to have to discard it if you examine it too closely, which in my case is not what happens. I honestly expected that. I really thought that I would prove myself wrong, or that I would discover that I had some kind of psychotic break when I experienced synchronicities on a level that you were just, if the improbability factor was such a ridiculous number that it just could not have happened. These kind of experiences like that, and a lot of other things along those lines. And once you apply scrutiny to these experiences and they still persist, it was a surprise to me. And so anyways, what I was saying about that is I'm making this Crowley video, and also the other day I did a secret stream where I was like commentary on the Book of the Law and analyzing some of Crowley's commentary on the Book of the Law, which is ironic because the first paragraph in the Book of the Law says that this book, it is forbidden to study this book, and those that do so should be shunned as centers of pestilence. So the first book of the law, the first rule of the Book of the Law is that we do not talk about the Book of the Law or study the Book of the Law. You read it once and burn it, is what the Book of the Law says that you're supposed to do with it. But yeah, it was quite an extraordinary piece of work, especially with the commentary. And So what I was getting at there is that there are actually three different commentaries. There's the old commentary, the new commentary, and then there's another commentary. The Tunic commentary or Tunis commentary. And so I'm going to do a live stream where I do one of the other commentaries with Crowley's commentary and my commentary. Because honestly, he gets so densely technical. It's actually surprising. And it's not something that people are accustomed to encountering in metaphysics, which is another reason why I think it has so much value. And it's not just an unhinged mind coming apart on paper. It's actually genuinely sophisticated and highly structured, and there's a lot of science involved. Concepts like every number is infinite, there is no difference, and this idea of numbers as living things. But the fundamental message of the book, which I'll share with you now, is very beautifully elucidated in this. It isn't satanic, but Crowley's approach to syncretic thought was that we are actually being syncretic. So we're drawing from everything. Someone asked him that, what is this deal with the Satanism? And he said, I'm not a Satanist. I'm a Buddhist. I'm a Christian. I'm a Satanist. I'm a Luciferian. I'm a Jew. Whatever I can draw on, whatever the imagery, whatever aesthetic suits me for whatever purpose. You just draw on everything equally, and then take the parts that serve you the most and leave the rest. But from the satanic point of view, the commandments are there to be broken. So, of course, we study the Book of the Law if it says not to study the Book of the Law. But anyways, he elucidates this idea about reincarnation in a very brilliant manner, and it also helps us to understand not only the function but the necessity of both good and evil in the universe. And so he compares the soul to a molecule of carbon. That the carbon can be coal, and then it become diamond, and then say at the end of the Earth's life cycle, or actually the end of the sun's life cycle, when it swells and it melts the diamond, the individual molecules of consciousness, carbon, same thing really, but of carbon will again be separated, and the carbon that originally manifested as the coal, it never changed. It will remain unchanged through its cycle of manifestation. So it's the same molecule of carbon that was in the coal, that was in the diamond, and at the end is separated back out of these substances and is again itself. And so he was also equating that to how there is like a great spirit, a universal mind, and we are all constituent parts of that in just the same way as that carbon molecule is its own unit, although fundamentally it's still just a piece of carbon. And so that's also, I think, an interesting extrapolation on this idea of the one thing doing one thing. You can see how the material and the way it can divide and materialize as different things, different manifestations, and the spiritual metaphor that he made, that's basically the same thing. You could make the same analogy with water, but I like carbon better, because carbon is manifesting as such an extraordinary multitude of things, but yet every individual molecule of carbon that enters into a incarnation as wood, and then rots, and then it's dirt, and then it becomes part of a mineral body, and then that is decomposed and it's something else later. But these individual Sorry, I can't see the chat, and it's disconnected. Oh, okay, you left me a link to a video. Right on, where'd you leave it? By the way, guys, do me a favor and hit the like button, share, subscribe, support us on Patreon, check out the secret streams, and I mean, I feel like you guys probably have all heard this pitch, but just in case, you know, and we are trying to raise money for this move, man, because we have to go out into the jungle, and it's going to be expensive to get supplies even. We need to like buy all of our groceries for like 30 days and then put them in canoes and get them all out there and do it all at once. Because if we have to come back and forth and stuff because we just have little bits of money all the time, it's going to be obnoxious. So that's why we were so pissed off about this crypto scam, man. If we could have made a few $1,000s and cashed it out and paid off our friends and you know, I mean, it just would have really just, and it's not over. We still have a week and it's not all gone. So I'm just determined to just make it happen again, you know. God damn though, man. We really just didn't need that shit. So anyways, you know, there's the PayPal addresses and the wallet address in the description and in the chat. Yeah, Charles, I don't know if you, probably somewhere in Patreon you have to turn on the notifications, and then I assume that your phone will beep or something. I don't know. I'm not a patron of anyone, so I'm not actually really sure how that works. But you can always check in too and just look and see if I've posted anything. I'm gonna try to start posting it all at the beginning of the week. Part of the problem lately is that I haven't been well, and some days I feel better than other days. So I'll realize, like, you know, okay, I'm feeling okay, so let's do something, you know. So that's why they're so sporadic right now. I just never know. You can hit the remind me button and get an email. Oh, you're telling him on Patreon, right? Okay. Oh, and by the way, I'm moving the channel too. I did an experiment. I loaded a video on our conscious adventure channel or whatever it's called, and it only has like 25 subs. And so the more subs, the more the algorithm is supposed to prioritize you, and even if you're not monetized. But I started to suspect that because I was demonetized, that I'm not only just not getting priority, I'm actually getting like shuffled down to the bottom. And so I uploaded an identical video with identical title, with identical tags, everything the same, to our demonetized channel that you're watching on, and then also to our travel channel. And it got 1,000 views on this channel, and it got 23,000 views in like half the time on the other channel that isn't demonetized. So it's just not doing me a lot of good. I think you know, I do have a worthy message. Content is good. I should be growing more, and I mean, some of you guys were around when the channel was doing a lot better. So it's a pain in the ass, but what I'm gonna do is start moving all of the best content over to the other channel. I'm not going to put any of the political shit. I'm not going to talk much religious stuff. I'm going to try to keep it a little bit cleaner. I know you're not a flat, but review, what do you mean, flat earth? No, Fernando, I guess you missed that part. It did not crash, but we did lose it because someone made a very, very sophisticated scam. They made a Telegram that was identical to the real Telegram, even the number of people somehow. They had 31,000 and the real one had 31,000. I didn't know that there was even two groups, so I thought I was in the official group. They made a link to a website that was 100% identical. There was no way to distinguish them. And so they put the chat on pause. I thought I was in the official group, what was actually doing an airdrop. So it was something I was expecting anyways, to be redirected to this website, and scanned this QR code and $1,600 worth of tokens vanished instantly, leaving us with just what we had started with. So it's like it never happened, like none of it happened. But brutal, man. Yeah, I guess you weren't. Yeah, I already told the story. So you guys, you really got to watch it because that was the other part of the story. The reason for telling it is that you can't even evaluate websites anymore and just go, okay, like this is the same website. Like you have to check every letter of the link of the web address. You know what I mean? Like if you click on anything, like you have to, and I think part of what happened is that Telegram, like the groups move really rapidly. And so the fake group was in there shifting around. It had the same name, an identical name to the real group. And so I just didn't notice, clicked on it. And I did. I actually went back and checked to see if it had the right number of people in it. It did. And the admins in the real group had said, okay, in 10 minutes, we're going to pause the chat. So when the fake group paused the chat, it seemed like the same. I think I got up to make coffee or something. And I came back and I had closed the computer or something. So I had to like go back into the Telegram group. And I just had the bad luck of clicking on the scammer Telegram. They had copied everything, the logo, name, they had the right number of people, perfect copy of the website. I mean, they just copied the source code or the public, whatever, I don't know computer stuff very much, but you know what I mean, copied it. And yeah, I mean, now I just know that I have to be that much more careful, but it's getting more and more difficult, probably every day. These scammers as people get smarter, the scammers just adapt. But yeah, I mean, and it makes me feel bad, like I did something wrong, and I did my due diligence. I checked, I went back and forth from the website, looked at the Telegram before I scanned anything, it's like, this is it, this is the group, this is the website, like, why would I be suspicious? It's clearly the right place, so, yeah. So in the comments, I told you that I had figured something out about the tarot. And one of the things that I think is important that we realize, and it's something I was talking about in the secret stream as well, the Golden Age didn't already go. Teachers like the Buddha are there to be transcended. And that's why I've always thought that people like Terence McKenna and Aleister Crowley and even Timothy Leary actually I think was every bit on the level of Terence McKenna. These people are actually more advanced than revered historical spiritual figures. If they weren't, then the universe would be wasting its time. Evolution would not be a thing. Like, we haven't just been stagnating for 2,000 years getting nowhere. I think these people, I'm probably more advanced than most of those historical figures. I mean, especially Jesus, honestly. I've never seen anything in his writings that struck me as like, anything but just common sense and morality. It's not really like, wow, that's an incredible metaphysical idea. It's like, wow, don't throw rocks at hookers. So what? Like, my son wouldn't throw a rock at a hooker probably, I mean, I don't understand what the big deal is. So, we're advancing still, and we will continue to advance. That's why we're here. You can't help it. Complexity builds on complexity. Entropy even creates more sophisticated order. So we are building on the ideas. Hell no, I didn't get the vaccine. I wouldn't. No way. Nope. And it's really funny with that situation. Well, it's not funny. It's insane. I just saw today that the U.S. government is actually planning to send soldiers door to door to inject people now, and this people's memories must be just totally fucked. I mean, I thought I was bad, but I remember very distinctly when people were talking about how Yeah, that's what I would say too. Come knocking on my door, you're gonna get shot. I mean, that's plain and simple. Like, I would put a sign, if I was living in the US, I would put a sign at the end of the driveway that says trespassers will be shot on sight, regardless of government affiliation. And if they came to my door thinking that they're gonna put a needle in anyone in my family without permission, they would get their heads blown off. Like, they should, you know, that's totally fair, in my book. So, but what I was saying is that, you know, I remember when COVID first happened, and people were talking about how, oh yeah, now the government's going to be going around people's houses trying to inject them, and people were all laughing at them like, oh, they would never do that. That's ridiculous. Durka, durka, durka. You know, and now that it is happening, you don't. It's not like our inboxes aren't filling up with apologies. People are just. It's ostrich bias. They just stick their heads in the sand, and pretend like things aren't happening the way that they're actually happening. It's been incredibly necessary to do that with politics, whether you're talking about during the Trump administration or the current administration. But if anyone still had any inkling of hope that Joe Biden was not a total corporate scum puppet, when the other day people were making a big deal about his whispering at this press conference, which really wouldn't be that bad if it wasn't for the fact that what he's actually whispering about is I gave them aid. I gave them meaningful aid. You know who he's talking about? People that he just bombed illegally. That's who he's claiming he just gave aid to and whispering it. Next level piece of shit, man. That guy. It's horrific. It really is. And you know, the denial that people are able to put themselves in order to try to cope with it is, I don't even have words for it. You know, it's just a shame, because we need to be taking humanity in a more meaningful direction, and continuing to believe in the old paradigm that has worn so thin that you have to basically be on high doses of Xanax to continue to believe in it, or you know, like it's just so full of fear, because the veil is gone. It's not even worn thin. It's just gone. I don't think that any person in the United States should be able, in good conscience, to vote for either the blue or the red. What's so scary about vaccination? Population control is a real thing. And that's it doesn't even matter about the vaccine. The vaccine in and of itself is probably fine, but the additives that they put in the vaccines are not fine. And you know, I have an aunt, for example, who is totally a straight edge, normal. Well, sure, Fernando, not everyone is going to drop dead, but the reality is that, you know, you have a greater chance of getting sick from taking the vaccine than you do from getting COVID, especially now that they've admitted that only 6% of the COVID deaths are actually from COVID. You know, I mean, they've destroyed the world economy and damaged a generation of children, and with, you know, masks and fear and the whole thing, over nothing, really. I mean, we've had more dangerous pandemics a half a dozen times in the last 15 years, without question. And none of this shit was necessary. Like, that is absolutely factual. So, I don't know what's really going on exactly. And anyone that does is a fucking, or says they do, is an asshat. For sure. Like, nobody knows what the fuck is going on for sure, or why things are happening exactly. But are our rights being stripped away intentionally? Are people being conditioned to believe lies? Is there an unprecedented effort at propagandizing the population? Yes, all of that is happening. And You know, like I said, I can't claim to know exactly why because I'm not privy to that information, but I certainly, uh, I think I know what it is implying is happening, and I'm certainly not down. Um, One of the things that I can lay claim to, you know, I'm not trying to brag here, I'm just making a point. I have accurately predicted a staggering accuracy all of the shit that has gone down over the last like 3 or 4 years. I mean, it's crazy. And this is not because I'm not saying I'm psychic or I'm not psychic. I'm saying that's not the point. Who cares about that? Um, the reality is that if you can predict the behavior of a system, it means that you understand the system. So I definitely, yeah, Fernando. I mean, I look. Um, so there's that. But what Fernando's saying about the vaccine in Cuba, um, look, I've said this stuff before, but you guys brought it up, so I'll say it again. Uh, I have known executives from Big Pharma that one of them left Big Pharma just because they were so horrendously evil. Um, and everything that I'm about to say is, public record. Uh, but the one of the okay, so is it Merck or Pfizer? One of those two, and I'm sure they're comparable. It's not like one of these entities is a saint and the other one is Satan or something, right? But they've been sued for like 6 billion. They have a felony rap sheet that is like miles long or something. I mean, um, but the formula they have for determining whether or not to release a medication is not based on efficacy or safety. It's based on risk uh, risk assessment, and that's it. What they do is they look at historical precedents of if a million people uh, suffer negative side effects, what percentage of them is going to sue? How severe are the side effects? How much money is that going to cost? And then they factor it all together. And if their profit at the end of the day is higher than the lawsuits, then they'll go ahead and approve it. It doesn't matter. And the efficacy formula, it actually has to be at least 10% less efficacious than the placebo. And it can totally kill you, so it doesn't have to work. And it doesn't matter if it kills you or gives you a heart attack or stroke or whatever. None of that matters. The formula that they use is only based on risk and return assessment shit. That's it. So if you want to get your medication from those people, go the fuck ahead, but no thanks. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not. And then, okay, so that's one part of it. The other part of it is that, there was this, what do you call it, when the big corporation buys up all the acquisitions or whatever. So it was like an acquisition firm or, I don't know what to call it, conglomerate or something. And they figured out that it was cheaper to buy all the other pharmaceutical companies that had developed medications rather than doing R&D themselves. And so they started jacking the prices up on medications that were life-saving. And so these are people who, the health and the lives of people are in their hands. And they will knowingly raise the price to the point where they know that they're putting the medication outside of the reach of people who will die if they don't get it. You want to take shit manufactured by those people, more power to you. I'm not fucking with it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't see any reason to. And the reality is that, it's not perfect here in the jungle. Sure, people get sick. I'm sick right now. I think I just had the new COVID variant, actually. But a little bit of cascarilla, which is interesting because it contains quinine, and you know how pissed off everyone got when Donald Trump said that cured COVID. And what the foreigners here say about the locals that have lived here forever is that when COVID came here, The shamans just went around and gave everyone their jungle juice, and everyone got better within a day or two, and no one died, no one needed a respirator, um, and that's one of the actives in the Cascaria. So I feel like, and here's another way to think about it. Everyone in the modern world is so convinced that their modern medicine is so amazing, yet you have the most sickly population in the history of the world. You have constantly growing rates of cancer, and um, all the while, despite the facts, they're like, oh yeah, it's amazing modern medicine. It's like, you motherfuckers are all sick and dying. What the fuck are you talking about? First of all, and here in the jungle, okay, so modern world, everyone's wearing masks, getting vaccines, social distancing, dying anyways. Here in the jungle, no masks, no vaccines, no social distancing, spitting shit on each other in plant medicine ceremony, um, drinking from the same cup, no effort at uh, what would you call it, like sterilization, I guess, and